Episode 89, Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
It's 90.
90. Episode 90, Michael, welcome.
Good. Hello.
And today my guest on the Mark Halpin show is Michael Dwyer. No, this is Paper Tuesdays. Michael Dwyer, Mark Halpin, welcome. Namaste. Namaste, important here today.
Yes, indeed. Spirituality, Mark.
That's what we're talking here today.
Yeah.
Spirituality.
What made you want to pick this subject?
I've been thinking a lot about Hyde Park lately.
Really?
So this is the kind of angle I want to take with this.
Okay.
Now, obviously, spirituality means absolutely everything and absolutely nothing at the same time. But Hyde Park. So, for those local to Gorey, Wexford area, will probably know what Hyde Park is. So Hyde Park is a big estate in Castletown, just outside of Gorey, County Wexford, off the main road, where we have nice strawberries of Greensbury Farm. Love Gorey.ie. Sorry, I digress. So, Hyde Park, right? So now it's owned privately, I think.
Yes.
Or was it always owned privately?
Ooh.
Built by the Protestants originally. Built by Catholics for Protestants. But I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm still out of
Well, you did a lot of running.
I did a lot of
No,
running.
that's totally understandable. But yes, built right. Okay, so now privately owned.
How privately under chalets on it, I believe.
Really? Okay.
I
Bit of development.
spoke to a man who once told me that he moved into one of the chalets there, and I told him my knowledge of the history of Hyde Park. And he was not too happy with it. He was just kind of like, all right, because this man was after paying a lot of money for a chalet in Hyde Park. And I told him what went on. So I vaguely remember something. This could be incorrect, but this was in my childhood. My mother told me that my grandfather, Ned, wouldn't go near Hyde Park because of what he'd heard had happened there. What had happened, to my understanding, was the original owner had to put levels of concrete, extra levels of concrete on the basement, under the basement, because the devil was said to have lived there.
Excuse me. Right.
After that, there is other stories of hauntings I've heard that aren't really... it's just the usual ghosts and shit. People have seen ghosts.
That's very interesting. So, like, this concrete story, that's only kind of locally known, because we tried to peruse Google even back when we were on our phones back in secondary school or whatever, and we could never find anything. But that's really raw local knowledge there.
Yes, and now I have something here.
Okay.
From the Cult Education Institute.
Wow, okay.
Of more weird goings on in Hyde Park. So this article is called A Shrine to Silence. A religious movement in Inch, County Wexford is showing all the signs of cult-like behaviour, according to one expert in the field. The movement's reluctance to talk to media has further increased these doubts. This is from McGill Magazine, Ireland, February 2002, by Nina Hepojoki. And you shake it all about. Little is known of the last days, weeks, even months in Margaret Foley Smith's life, and the reasons that led to her to commit suicide. What is known is that on the day of her death, 8th May last, she had been arguing intensely with her ex-husband Martin Smith in the premises of Pilgrim House, a radical Catholic community where they both lived. They started arguing early in the day. As the day wore on, the rows became more intense and, at some stage, physical. The fighting culminated in multiple bruising on Margaret's body. Their last row took place around 7 p.m, after which Margaret disappeared. She failed to turn up for coffee at 8 p.m. Who drinks coffee at 8 p.m? Cult.
That's the first sign, yeah.
Despite Martin's attempts to contact her by phone. At 9 p.m, there was still no sign of Margaret, and Martin decided to look for her. He alerted other community members to Margaret's disappearance. After about 15 minutes search, the two other community members, Claudia Carvajal and Ina Gray, informed Martin that they had found Margaret in the outhouse. She was hanging from a beam with her head hanging to one side. There was a blue rope around her neck. Her right hand was holding the end of the rope. A small wicker table was lying on its side under her. The community's founding member and resident Dr. Dermot O'Leary, didn't he present the X Factor? Arrived at the outhouse. He took Margaret down from the beam and tried to resuscitate her, but to no avail. She was dead. At around 10:15 p.m, after an hour after Margaret was found and her body was taken down from the beam, Garda Ian Hayes, Cathy Swan and John McCarthy were on the scene. The body was identified and Martin Smith told the Gardaí that he had been separated from Margaret for 2 years. But he was looking for coffee with her that day. In the following day, in Trim, County Meath, Frank Foley, Margaret's brother, was woken at midnight by a phone call from Dermot O'Leary and Martin. They told Frank of Margaret's death. He was shocked, of course. In the following days, he became even more shocked when he learned how little he had known about his sister's life in the Pilgrim House community. It was only after Margaret's death that we learnt that she and Martin were no longer husband and wife. Although we did not hear from her often, we had been under the illusion that everything was fine. To hear that there had been violent rows was a total shock. When Margaret formed the community with the O'Learys, she became more or less estranged from our family. It was nearly as if the community had become her real family. She was rarely in contact with us and gave the impression that she did not wish to be in touch with us anymore. Margaret had been a well-known sociable person in Trim, where she grew up. Some old friend of Margaret's hoped to get in contact with her when she lived in the community, but when I passed these messages on, she did not seem keen to get in touch with them and encouraged me not to give her full contact details, says Frank Foley. It's heavy enough so far, Michael.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
So, how does this must have been a shock to you as a young 6-year-old who lived in the vicinity of this
6-year-old. I didn't know much about this, to be honest. I had heard there was a cult that was there before, but that was just kind of it. There was a cult there. I'd also heard, like, this is like, you know, like gory stories, you know, like they all get tales and everyone adds their little piece onto it. Like what I had heard before, like when I was younger, was that there was a suicide pact there from the cult and they all killed themselves in the woods. And when I was younger, one of my friends lived across the road from Hyde Park and we used to go in there and it was very creepy, like around the woods. It's surrounded by woods, a wooded area. And like we go looking in the rivers and in the trees and all, and it was very kind of creepy and weird.
Very dark, isn't it? There's not much light gets in there or something. It seems like a lot of tree cover.
Yeah, and it's a very long lane. Like we never actually saw the house, and we'd go into the woods there the whole time. The woods actually, not to give away my address, but it's kind of, you can see the woods at the back of it from here, from my house. So it's kind of eerie that all this has gone on there. So where was I? Where did I finish up, Michael? Oh, don't get in contact with them. Martin and Margaret met in 1984 in Dublin through work with mentally handicapped people. They got married in 1986. Margaret, a former journalist with the Farmers Journal, had previously been interested in the work of the Simon community. Her interest in social justice issues was further intensified when she met Helena O'Leary through Simon. Helena and Margaret became close friends. I think Margaret became highly influenced by Helena. She admired her and even started to talk like her. Helena visited our family house on a number of occasions. They were constantly talking about social justice issues and were very much enraged about the inequalities of the world. At some stage, their interest had become specifically focused on asylum seekers. I and our whole family admired their views and idealism, yet I also found Helena to be a very commanding person. There was little room for arguing on opinions with them. This seems to be a lot like what's going on TikTok at the minute, Michael.
What's going on?
Social justice.
All right.
I demand social injustice.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah. You're a social injustice warrior, are you?
Yeah, I will lead the social justice warriors.
Okay.
And I will be, what's the name of the big transformer?
Optimus Prime.
I will be the Optimus Prime. By their time of marriage, Margaret and Martin... Margaret and Martin had joined Helena and Dermot O'Leary and formed the Pilgrim House community. In 1991, Margaret and Martin adopted 3 children from orphanages in Romania. In his statement to the coroner's inquest into Margaret's death, Martin Smith said, "Initially, things between us were going very well. In 1989, we moved to Hyde Park. In 1997, strains on our marriage became apparent. They were manifested in petty rows, which became more robust in nature as time went on. In 1999, we decided to live apart." Frank Foley says that his family had no objections to Margaret's marriage to Martin Smith. We all liked him. He was a very jovial person, a genteel type. Do you know what that is?
Gentile.
Gentel.
Shall we look
Genteel type, yeah.
Yeah.
He always seemed very relaxed. The violence of the rows came as a total surprise to me. I could not see Martin. I could not see the Martin I met doing anything like
Interesting, Mark. Genteel is characterised by exaggerated or affected politeness, refinement, or respectability.
There you go. There you go.
So,
It's always the ones you don't expect.
no.
They thought he'd never do anything like that. To me, that raised the question whether somewhere down the line he had changed. While we would have found their decision to form a community a peculiar one, we had no real objections, as we found their commitment to mentally handicapped people admirable. After Margaret's death, her sister Aideen arrived at the funeral from Glasgow. It was then that Frank Foley learned that Margaret had left the community a month earlier and gone to Glasgow to see her sister. Aideen said that Margaret had begun to look for work as she felt she was finished with the community. According to Aideen, Margaret seemed to have lost all sense of her own value and had a skin condition which caused her some distress. She also instructed Aideen not to tell the rest of our family that she had left the Pilgrim House community. After 2 days, Margaret received a phone call, which she said was from Martin. She returned to the community. About a month later, she took her own life. On the 24th of October last, so this was 2003, the coroner's court in Gorey heard the inquest into the death of Margaret Foley Smith. Present at the inquest on the request of the Foley family was Mike Gard, a field worker in Dialogue Ireland, an organisation which came into existence in the 1980s as a result of a cry for help from several families and individuals who had been affected by involvement in new religious movements. Dialogue Ireland represents the response to the four main Christian churches in Ireland: Catholic, Church of Ireland, Methodist and Presbyterian. To these requests, its mandate is to create dialogue between new religious movements and the main churches in Ireland. Pilgrim House had previously attracted the attention of Dialogue Ireland. In 1997, a former priest approached Mike Gard. He had left the community and came to me in a counselling capacity. The fact that he approached me in the first place already says something of the way he had begun to perceive the community that he had been a member of. The former priest had been married to one of the members of the Pilgrim House. As they entered marriage, his wife stipulated that they would live in the community. The husband was unable to give his total devotion to the community, and subsequently their marriage deteriorated. He approached me when he became concerned that the community had started showing signs of cult-like behaviour. He claimed that Helena O'Leary was the essential leader of the community, and she had developed cult leader-like characteristics. This former member doesn't wish to talk to the media about his time in the community. Mike Gard was already personally familiar with the Pilgrim House when approached by the former member. They first came to my attention through the protests at the Department of Foreign Affairs over asylum seekers' rights issues. I believe many people would have been sympathetic with their views, even admired them. I had no reason to believe that they would be a new religious movement at that stage. 2 years later, he was contacted by RTE News when a comment from the Pilgrim House had attempted to enter Israel for the last millennium. The Israeli officials blocked their entry, suspecting them to be a millennial suicide cult.
Wow.
It was rubbish, of course, says Mike Garda. These reports were found to be utterly untrue and established that they were not part of any extremist sect. Today, with his further research into the Pilgrim House community, Mike Garda is of the view the community is showing signs of cult-like behaviour. Dialogue Ireland prefers the term new religious movement to cult. I'm sure the cult prefers that as well. There are certain definitions of a new religious movement. Different groups in existence have shown varying levels of transparency. For instance, Opus Dei's continuation structures are known to the Catholic Church and therefore accepted in the course of Pilgrim House community. Very little is known of them are linked to the churches here do not come under their authority. This is going on a bit. Yeah, this is very long. So
It's a great article though, and some grains of just to see how the thoughts that you had of this area are actually coming up in this. So
are true.
Yeah, it seems like the hearsay of the time was actually bolstered by this sort of investigation work.
Yeah, but like then again, it's the fucking, as I was saying, like the stories get tales. Like it was one person committed suicide there. Like people commit suicide in every community.
Yeah, it's a rather interesting fact that, you know, much of the article deals with the family. Families are interesting when it comes to this as well, you know, like just because the brother didn't know didn't mean that the sister did know how Margaret was getting on as such. And then the inference of whether or not they were together at the time of the separation. Oh, well, they were going to meet for the coffee at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Could you ever see yourself being brought into a cult or swindled?
No, not in today's world, because you could have your own cult in today's world.
Paper Tuesdays.
You can do. I don't see a need for living in a house with people and
having sister wives and all that stuff.
Oh, right, that sort of thing. I forgot that cults can be many different things.
Yeah, they can be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you live in a cult?
Yeah. I read a book, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Oh, right. You told me it's banned in prisons.
It's banned in prisons, and for good reason. It gives you instructions on how to start a cult.
Oh, right.
It's very kind of toxic. And I read it, And I read it when I was living in Australia, and I practiced it for a while. So not starting a cult, there's different things on how to ascend hierarchies, right? And they do work, but it's very short term and people will hate you. And I found that I started doing it because I wanted to make more money when I was farming. And I did. I got like promoted and like I got better times and things like that. But ultimately led me to getting sacked. So because there was a fella called Xandro, right? And there's stuff in it. It's like play to them, like let the person above you like make them grandiose. So when you're talking to them, put them on a pedestal, and they love that. And he did love that. But eventually, what happened and what can happen is that goes to his head. He then becomes that. And in turn, I started to absolutely fucking hate him because of the way he started to see me. And I'd done it, like.
Yeah.
I'd done it. And then he started to see me as way below him. So I eventually stopped giving a shit about my job. I was like, well, like, fuck this guy. Even though I had originally made him like all these compliments and how well he's doing and how great his farm is and stuff like that, and how, all this stuff and how great of a boss he is. And then he started seeing himself in our relationship as being like the one who is in control of my fate because he's the higher authority here.
Okay.
And I started making more money and like getting better hours and getting like better jobs and stuff like that. But as soon as I made a mistake, he was fucking on me like that, like screaming, shouting on the phone, ringing me at 3 a.m. when the cows got out because his chain was broke. And that was like, eventually he started screaming. He's like screaming at me down the phone. He was Filipino, so he's talking really fast and shouting. I was milking on another farm. It was 3:30 a.m. I just go, look, Sandro, I quit. And I hung up. I booked a flight home, and 2 weeks later I was home in Ireland. So that doesn't work, but it's very easy to see how, people in your relationship with them, you can kind of mold it what way you want. And I think that can work both ways. And that's what happens with cultish leaders. When they're talking to people, they know that they're just another person as well. But they know how to influence, and they manipulate those influencing abilities to make people believe everything they say, and then eventually they end up drinking cyanide in the woods.
Right, so you view it as a slippery slope.
Yeah. There's lots of interesting stuff. Like, read Robert Greene if you want, and like he has a lot of good, like the stuff he says works, but it's not going to work out well for you long term.
Ooh, right. I'm surprised because this Robert Greene must be a divisive sort of character in that, like he has. There's something like a book, the way like the Daily Stoic does something, but he does something similar with his concepts, and Ryan Holiday has endorsed it. So there's
no, it's not all toxic stuff with
toxic,
him.
but when you take it to an extreme, this might be a good angle to go with in general here. When we take things to the extreme, it's just not
anything. When you take anything to the extreme, you can you can drink too much water and drown. There has to be a balance. I have the book inside, and he kind of has each chapter. It's the 48 Laws of Power. I can kind of go through the titles if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Like the stuff that's there. You keep the audience busy.
I'll keep the audience going. A dead man was brought into a post office in Carlow.
Can we talk about that first? Go on.
Well, imagine being the post office clerk. I mean, you're used to weighing parcels, and then you have a dead man before you. It's and they, in fairness to them, they knew he was dead. They went to the post office first to see, like, can we collect our dad's pension? And then they had to realise, no, the man has to be here himself. Okay, we'll get the man himself here.
Did they? They went down and then they came back with him?
Yeah, like one in each arm, like bringing him into the post office. But like, it's a whole mess now, like in that, like they have to do a post-mortem to see, well, did you kill him to get the pension, or did you?
Like, and maybe charged for what they did. If they didn't, like, if he probably did die of natural causes.
If he died from natural causes, I'd say it'd be just a caution. Like, I don't
Slap
think,
on the wrist.
Yeah,
it's real Adam and Paul stuff. Have you ever watched that?
No.
Have you seen Adam and Paul?
No.
It's very good. It's like two junkies from Dublin.
All right.
And it's a funny film, like, but that's the kind of shit they do, like, It reminded me of that.
Is it worth it for €200 they were going down to carry a dead man? Well, I suppose when you're
like.
I'd say they're sure to be charged, because there's definitely like laws against using it out. I don't know what the word is, but like
But I suppose they were trying to complete a fraud, a fraudulent act.
Fraud as well. It's like manipulating a dead body. I don't know, something along those lines. But I'd say they're definitely charged. Mick was actually telling me last night, we were talking about it, and he was saying that there's a lad there in Cork a couple of years ago got caught. Both of his parents died about 30 years ago, and he had been collecting their pension for a full 30 years, and he probably got thousands upon thousands, and he got sentenced to jail. Like.
Yeah, I think
that was only a few months ago. Yeah.
Oh, I thought,
Yeah.
But sorry, as in like the act could have been a few months ago, but the court case only came up a few months ago. And that's of course that analysis brought to you by Shane Halpern Marketing. So yeah, there was another thing I wanted to discuss. There's a lot going on there. What about in Loughrea, the man with the pliers and the dental work?
That was fucking rough.
That man is made of better stuff than you and I think.
Yeah, are we able to like add that into the video?
Yeah, the pliers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can put them in on YouTube.
No. There's your tooth. Here, take your fucking tooth with you. You wanted it out, it's out.
Do you hear his top of the fucking thing? Where's the tooth?
Pick it off the counter, you cunt, will you?
That's brilliant content.
Oh, it's fucking gross.
Raw
That
out.
is like pub stuff.
But I have
isn't
to
it?
ask, like, I went to my dentist. We talk about our dentists a lot here. We're very fond of them.
Yeah.
Especially shout out to, we won't even. But what was it? Yeah, he said he couldn't go to the dentist because the vaccine cert. My vaccine cert was not checked when I went to my dentist recently. So your man could have had a much less painful experience had he
If he came
got.
to Gory.
Yeah, we would have sorted it out with a dentist.
The rules don't apply. But like, I know a few lads that would do that. Like, just like be in the pub and be like, I can't get this fucking tooth out, and then like they have a pliers there.
You think that's not the first time that's happened?
No, I don't think so.
Wow.
I really don't.
Okay. I just think these incidents are what we shouldn't condemn them. I think we should celebrate. Well, maybe not the dead man going to the post office. Maybe we shouldn't celebrate that. But like the man getting the tooth out, that's what makes Ireland.
Yeah,
That's what makes Ireland. There was a story my granny told me yesterday, and I loved it. It was kind of like the classic Irish hero, right? I want to tell you the story about like back 50 years ago, and there was this man, and he was a postman, and he delivered post on a bike, and he used to cycle like crazy distances, like from Auckram to Knockananna, up hills, down hills, 20, 30 kilometres. And anyway, the on post said, right, we're going to see if you deserve a van. So he said, right, and he went to some local farmer, and there were all sheep farmers in the area, and he said, can you send out a notice about sheep dipping that needs to take place? And then he'd need to go to every single house along the route.
Yeah.
So then with a letter for every house, and with the inspector with him, then he got to stop at every house along the way, took long roads and everything, and then he got his van.
on the bike.
It's a story of ingenuity. Yeah. Oh, sorry, like, they were wondering, is your route bad enough to warrant a van?
Yeah.
But because he had to go to every house, because he took long ways instead of shortcuts,
yes.
and the man won, he got his van.
He read
That's Ireland.
48 Laws of Power.
Interesting segue. Yes.
There we go. Right, so let's see if he has it laid out here. So this is, what's it called? Is that like the blurb on the back?
Yes, exactly.
So amoral, cunning, ruthless, and instructive. Sorry, amoral. Is that amoral or is that amoral? It's a big capital A. There's a big difference between amoral and moral.
I think it is immoral, yeah.
Amoral, like the word amoral?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cunning, ruthless, and instructive, this piercing work distills 3,000 years of history and power into 48 well-explicated laws. As attraction-grabbing in its design as its content, this bold volume outlines the laws of power in their unvarnished essence, synthesizing the philosophies of Machiavelli, Sun Tzu, Karl von Clausewitz, and other great thinkers. Some laws require prudence. Law 1, never outshine the master. That's what I was saying. Some stealth. Law 3, conceal your intentions. And the total absence of mercy. Law 15, crush your enemy totally. But like it or not, all have applications in real life situations, illustrated through tactics of Queen Elizabeth I, Henry Kissinger, P.T. Barnum, and other famous figures have wielded or been victimized by power, and these laws will fascinate any reader interested in gaining, observing, or defending against ultimate control.
First thing, Mark, immoral, I was surprised to see, it's actually lacking a moral sense, so unconcerned with the rightness or wrongness of something. That's interesting. It's almost as if, like, it's not that it's total lacking morals, but lacking the need for correct morals, just making sure that the laws have an accurate application. Maybe.
That sounds right. So I'll just read out the titles of each law. So each law is like has its own title, and then it goes further into it in a chapter. So they're each a chapter. Law 1, never outshine the master. Law 2, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Law 3, conceal your intentions. Law 4, always say less than necessary. Law 5, so much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Law 6, court attention at all costs. Law 7, get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Law 8, make other people come to you, use bait if necessary. Law 9, win through your actions, never through argument. So that's not exactly toxic. Win through your actions, not through argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of saying that actions speak louder than words.
Yes,
almost. Yeah.
exactly. So infection.
But since we've stopped, sorry, Mark,
No,
since we've stopped for a good one, I'd like to just drill back into, like, there are a few there and you're like, oh, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was the last one on that page, sorry. What was it?
Court attention at all costs.
Or maybe it was the next one, sorry.
Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
That pisses me off now.
Yeah, it does. It's as I said, like, this book led me to lose my job. It's not allowed in prisons. It doesn't lead to a happy life. I think it leads to a fixation on power, and then that's the way you view the world. It's just like a power game, whereas like you can be happier without implementing this stuff in your life. It's all very like negative, and it's a bit unsettling and gross, really, to be honest. But it's interesting stuff that this is like, it's a popular book, particularly in America. It's very big, but it's just kind of more than that else. You can kind of see other people's games that they're playing with it as well. So you can kind of, like, he says that in the book, that if you're not going to use these, at least you can guard yourself against people that are doing it.
Yes, yeah, and awareness. That's so true, yeah.
Yeah. Where do we stop there? Win through actions, never through argument. Law 10, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Okay. That's good advice as well.
Keep your vibes pure.
Exactly, yeah. Law 11, learn to keep people dependent on you.
That's unsettling. But I know when you hear unsettling things, it's only because I think Jung says what irritates you reveals your own insecurities.
Yeah. What's it? Whatever you don't like about other people is something you see in yourself that you don't like, or something. That was a very unwisdom-like way to say that. Law 12, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Law 13, when asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. That's kind of true. You have to be able to give, like, people aren't interested if you can't offer them anything. But I know that goes against like, Mother Teresa, but like Mother Teresa didn't write this book.
Why do you think it goes against Mother?
Because Mother Teresa is like, help everyone. Anyway.
Right. Okay.
You know, some people do bite the hand that feeds as well.
Yeah, but like, see, this is where there's a twist. So just because Mother Teresa might say help everyone, is it because you're helping everyone? Is because the feeling that you get deriving from that service to others, you know? Yeah,
that's true. Helping people does feel good. And it is kind of a selfish thing as well. You know, giving to charity even is selfish. It makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, but it kind of just shows an awareness that there's another. I think that's the main thing. Like, you know, it's not all about you and such, you know.
Yeah. Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. Law 15, crush your enemy totally. Law 16, use absence to increase respect and honour. Law 17, keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability. Law 18, do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. That's good advice as well. Don't put yourself in isolation.
That's a good one, because when you think of power, you think, oh, you have to be aloof or above or withdrawn.
Yes.
But this book is saying that, no, connection.
It's the opposite.
Use your connection.
Law 19, know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. Good advice as well, I think. Don't go to the principal and call him a dickhead to his face. He'll suspend you or you're an idiot. Law 20, do not commit to anyone. Law 21, play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark.
Right.
I did that with your man as well. I sort of seemed like, stupid, and he was showing me all this stuff. Law 22, use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power.
Okay.
Law 23, concentrate your forces. Law 24, play the perfect courtier. Law 25, recreate yourself. Law 26, keep your hands clean.
Recreate yourself. That's interesting. I was listening to Brendan O'Connor on the way over here, and because the restrictions are gone, he says, recreate yourself. This is the time to do it with the restrictions gone. He's not going to be the cautious old man. He's going to... Well, he didn't actually say what he was going to do, but...
Brendan O'Connor spotted in the George next week. Law 27, play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following.
Sure, that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's exactly patreon.com. Law 28, enter action with boldness.
Oh, yeah, I like that. All for that.
That's good. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Law 29, plan all the way to the end.
Oh, good advice.
Good advice. Law 30, make your accomplishments seem effortless.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Law 31, control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. So this is cultish.
Okay.
Law 32, play to people's fantasies.
We'll be doing that in Going Little Theatre on April 1st. Yes.
Yeah, April 1st.
Absolutely.
Law 33, discover each man's thumbscrew.
Okay, what's the thumb screw now?
I don't think I want to know. Law 34, be royal in your fashion. Act like a king and be treated like one.
All for that.
As you can tell by my dress today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Green tracksuit bottoms and a Hawaiian shirt, football socks, and shoes that were once white. Law 35, master the art of timing.
Ooh.
Law 36, disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge.
I'm still sucking on that timing one. I don't know. Sucking definitely isn't the right word. But chewing on it. I think that's a lot in line with like the rhythm of life. And yeah, I'm all for that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry?
Do you want to read a little part under that? The master the art of timing? It's a little short paragraph.
Yeah.
Never seem to be in a hurry. Hurrying betrays a lack of control over yourself and over time. Always seem patient, as if you know everything that will come to you eventually. Become a detective of the right moment. Sniff out the spirit of the times. The trends that will carry you to power. Learn to stand back when it is not yet time to ripe. When the time is not yet ripe. And to strike fiercely when it has reached fruition.
Oh, what a lovely paragraph, yes. Robert
Law
teases us really, doesn't it?
Law 37, complete compelling spectacles. Create compelling spectacles.
Oh.
April 1st, Gory Little Theatre. Law 38, think as you like but behave like others.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to be a part of society.
Yeah, but I prefer the former there because I think we be part of society, but like remember to think as you like. I think like because we see what we consume on social media and Twitter, it's almost as if we all have to espouse the same beliefs. But if we all think differently, it leads to a more colourful tapestry.
I think so. Have you seen what they're doing with the M&Ms?
You sent it to me, Mark. Big changes.
Ask my bollocks.
Sorry?
Ask my bollocks.
Oh, maybe
The M&Ms can ask my bollocks.
All right.
They're changing the M&Ms to be more inclusive.
Yeah, but they don't look that much different.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Apparently, the red M&M is going to readjust its attitude to be less bossy. Okay. I think one of the M&Ms wore high heels. They're now going to wear Ugg boots or something. Ooh. Apparently the M&Ms weren't inclusive enough, so they're changing them. Yeah. Anyone who is upset by the M&Ms, I'll let you finish that sentence in your own head. Law 39, stir up waters to catch fish.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
Law 40, despise the free lunch.
Oh, that's nice. You basically got that tattooed on yourself.
Yeah.
Seek discomfort.
Seek discomfort. Law 41, avoid stepping into a great man's shoes.
Oh, to find your own, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'll go into that. What happens first always appears better and more original than what comes after. If you succeed a great man or have a famous parent, you will have to accomplish double their achievements to outshine them. Do not get lost in their shadow or stuck in a past not of your own making. Establish your own name and identify by changing course. Slay the overbearing father, disparage his legacy, and gain power by shining in your own way. Law 42, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter.
Okay.
Work on the hearts and minds of others. Law 44, disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. Law 45, preach the need for change but never reform too much at once. We have 3 laws left. Law 46, never appear too perfect. Law 47, do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. Law 48, assume formlessness.
Oh, fantastic. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Do you want me to go through the 48?
Go for it,
right? So assume formlessness. By taking a shape, by having a visible plan, you open yourself to attack. Instead of having a form for your enemy to grasp, keep yourself adaptable and on the move. Accept the fact that nothing is certain and no law is fixed. The best way to protect yourself is to be as fluid and formless as water. Never bet on stability or lasting order. Everything changes.
That flexibility. That's fantastic. Jesus, just from reading that now, I'm definitely going to read it. It sounds like I could get my teeth into it.
Yeah, no, he's a good writer. They're very captivating books. He's on Instagram. He does reels and stuff of him like reading or going through laws himself.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But again, you're saying that if we take that to the nth degree, if we go that too far, we lose a bit of ourselves in the process, maybe?
Yeah. You can get very caught up in it, and you can see and paint. Sure, like, don't we all paint our own reality on the world, what we think of it, like, you know?
Yeah.
So you can end up fucking going down a bad route with that book as well. That's why it's not allowed in prisons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's worth reading.
Absolutely. Mark, just to go into a little bit on spirituality, I was going to... I thought one solid base of the spirituality would be, that Don Michael Twez, or the lad who wrote the 4 Agreements?
Yeah.
So it's been recommended by Joe Rogan. And the 4 Agreements: 1, be impeccable with your word. 2, don't take anything personally. I think that's one of the toughest ones I have. Agreement 3, don't make assumptions. That's probably this next one that I find toughest. And then the final one, always do your best. They're very simple, but they're very, very interchangeable. Yeah. And they're ones you don't expect either, You think that they'll be different, but yeah, they're very broad and all-encompassing.
Yeah, not taking things personally is hard, isn't it?
Very hard, yeah, because you think you have to. I think that's when the small self thinks that you have to feel that response. But sometimes you're better off just letting it go and remembering that sometimes people are projecting themselves. Now, look, I know I can be quite spiritual and whatever, so I thought I'd jazz things up instead and give you some unusual religious traditions.
Oh, go on.
So the first one, and you will be fond of this, I know, baby throwing.
Yes.
So the Grijneshwar temple in Indian state of Maharashtra at the site of a very unusual and potentially dangerous religious ritual. So babies between the ages of 1 and 2 are thrown from a 50-foot tower, and men are positioned beneath it to catch the babies on sheets.
Holy shit.
What I love about this is, it shows it's a religious tradition, and yet it's practiced by both Muslims and Hindus in the area. It's bringing the people together, and it's a 700-year-old ceremony, Mark, and it's believed to make children more intelligent, luckier, and healthier.
There must be something in it if 2 religions are doing it. Where could we find a 50-foot building for me?
Ooh. For me. I think the only place to do it is to close the main street and do it from the market house.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's fucking terrifying.
It's crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, this looks... I'll just show you a photo here of this sky burials, Mark.
Oh my God. Arse
to the sky, but that person might be dead. So they were an exclusive and unusual religious ceremony in Tibet. The practice involved dissecting the deceased body and scattering the pieces on the mountaintop to decompose or be consumed by birds.
Oh.
Most Tibetans follow Buddhist traditions, which indicate that the human body is merely a vessel and can be discarded. Thus why the practice was popular. Excuse me.
Spirituality.
Thus why the practice was ultimately outlawed, but can still be performed with the family's permission. Wow.
Jesus.
This another one looks a bit mad. The Agori.
Right.
And this is considered to be a religious cult that broke away from the overarching Hindu religion in the 14th century. Back to cults, Mark. It's believed that everything emanates from the Brahman and that no evil exists. Interesting. So the Agori followers take this Agori Take this interpretation further by believing that everything is God and to abandon anything is sacrilege. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But the belief manifests itself into crude rituals, though, particularly their practice of dwelling near cremation grounds and eating the corpse of the deceased.
Oh.
Okay, because God is everything, it's okay to eat other people. I see. Now we're getting into very lovely territory. So, Mark, this is about the Maradonian Church.
Oh, okay.
And this is named and created after the legendary soccer player, Argentinian Diego Maradona.
I'm in.
It just believed the church's only belief is that Maradona was the greatest soccer player in the history of the sport, and praise to that fact. They have a set of commandments, and to date there are 80,000 followers in over 60 countries, and they like to spread the news of Diego's miracles.
Ah, wow.
What a story, yeah. Then we're going to the happy science religion. It's established by a Japanese man. He looks quite happy indeed. It's Ryo Hokowa.
Oh, he does, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Hello, Ryo. He believes it's his mission to bring happiness to all of humanity. Speaking of which, now the Japanese would have a good few cults. It'd be quite a big thing over there. It became an official religion in 1991, and it has over 12 million followers. The religion's core belief is that people should explore the right mind with principles of happiness through love, wisdom, self-reflection and progress. The creator believes he can channel the spirits of Muhammad, Christ, Buddha and Confucius, not to be left out. And the only prerequisite to join is an aspiration to seek the way and contribute to a realisation of love, peace and happiness on earth.
Wow.
Oh, and we're going into another one. Puss licking and scab eating. In medieval times, the wider population essentially scorned lepers. However, it was common practice for female saints to care for those affected by licking the pus from their wounds and eating their scabs. It was seen as a sign of extreme holiness. Luckily, no pictures exist of this practice.
Oh.
And I think one of the last ones here is flagellation. This is fascinating, yes. The practice of self-flagellation for religious purposes has a long history. It goes back to the Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, but it found its form in the 13th and 14th century. It was like Wim Hof and breathing. It got really big in the 13th and 14th century. Practiced by radicals of the Catholic Church, zealots would lash themselves in public as a demonstration of piety. Great processions took place, banners, crosses, beating themselves with leather thongs while chanting hymns and calling forth other zealots. So, there you go. What an interesting article there on some weird and wonderful religious rituals.
The happy science one, what was the science part?
That's a good question, actually, yeah. Yeah. Are there any happy science tradition? Are there, while we were Googling here, oh, this is a fringe. Oh, wow. They're still going anyway, Mark. Article from 2020 in the New York Times, Inside the Fringe. Japanese religion, won't let me all the way in, but look, that claims it can cure COVID-19. They're the best ones. They're everywhere. You know, everyone. There are some people out there. Shane, our correspondent on the Facebook, saw someone there yesterday that was still going with Bill Gates. Thanks, Bill. But yeah, it's a weird and wonderful tale. Mark, to bring us... sorry, I have to go to a Wexford match, and I would love to talk about spirituality all day, but I think spirituality is a feeling.
Yeah.
That, and sometimes we become too obsessed with that feeling, and maybe that's why we cling to cults.
Maybe, yeah.
I think that we have to feel it with the heart. We have to lead it that way. And Mark, what spiritual practice do you practice in your everyday life that you would recommend to paper Tuesdays?
Meditation. I think that's the only real spiritual practice I do. Meditation and going outside.
Okay, but I think everything... Mark, you made a baby. That, to me, that was quite spiritual. Everything we do in life is an offering. It's that's the way I look at it anyway. Us sitting down here is saying that it's worthwhile to talk into a camera and see if other people listen.
Yeah.
And that's... So, but sorry, let's drill down into how you meditate and how it is a part of your hurling and morning rituals.
Yeah, so I haven't done it now the last 2 days because just my schedule, unfortunately. But I do 10 minutes and I've done the habit stacking from automatic habits. So I read for half an hour, hurl for 10 minutes, and then I meditate for 10 minutes in the morning. And I think meditating is great because it's just a practice of bringing your attention back to the breath. So it's just about bringing your attention back to the present moment. So you can do that in your everyday life when you're working, when you're doing whatever, you find yourself lost in thought. And then you think, oh shit, I'm thinking too much. What am I supposed to be doing? And it brings you back then to the present moment and you can enjoy and focus.
Lovely.
On your life.
Yeah. Okay. And James Hood will have a big flash flood for us next week.
Yeah,
Yes,
big
indeed
one.
he will.
A huge one.
Huge, massive. Any plans for today?
We're going to table 41 for dinner tonight
Enjoy.
with the voucher.
Oh, very good.
And then maybe the cinema to see that Belfast film that's out.
Oh, very good. Fantastic.
Yourself,
Fantastic.
you're going to the Greenway
Might do
tomorrow?
the Greenway, yes. Trying to get active in this January. And living life 365.
That's it. We let you down to Exeter Park, Michael, yourself and Connor.
Indeed, Conor
Right?
Moore.
Connor Moore, namaste.
Namaste.
All our listeners,
Right.
go in peace to love and serve yourself.